Hello, I'm Pastor Jeremy Combs, and welcome to our expedition with the Exalted in the book of Ezra. If you missed last week on Tuesday and Thursday, we went through chapter 1 and set up much of the premise of the book. And now we come to chapter 2. And chapter 2 is a daunting chapter, not only for reader, but also for teacher alike, in that it is a long list of names. And I'm going to call this Why All These Names, and we're going to get into why this is so important and what we can even glean. Sometimes we cheat ourselves by avoiding difficult passages in the Bible, or we would say, quote unquote, boring passages. And there's a lot that we can really glean from here. But the big truth of Ezra is God keeps his word. Israel had been in captivity for 70 years. For 70 years, the land had laid dormant. Now, this is significant because we often think of Sabbaths and we forget about the year of Jubilee, the Sabbath every 50 years. For 1 year, the land was to remain rested. And there's many reasons for this, and we won't get into all of that. But as far as we know, Israel never kept a single one of these Sabbaths. And so God always gets what is rightfully his. In 70 years of captivity, there have been many who have said, as you go back in the nation of Israel, they had to fulfill all 70 of those years that they hadn't given to God. It's a reminder to us today that maybe you know you need a tithe or give to God, and you say, I just can't afford it. I'm not going to. Got to get it one way or the other. Maybe that's with your time. Maybe that's with something in your life. Let's give to God what is due to him. And after those 70 years were fulfilled, the Lord promised through Jeremiah and also through Isaiah that Cyrus would come and that he would open the doors for them to return. But yet, almost 2 generations had elapsed. It almost made you wonder, were they anticipating it or were they not? Probably there were some who did, and there were some who did not. In March 1889, the Clevelands were leaving the White House. They had been defeated in the election, and as Mrs. Cleveland was leaving, she was being escorted to the carriage. She turned to one of the servants, the maintainers of the lands there in the White House, and she said, make sure you keep everything ship-shape for the time when we come back. The servant, kind of surprised, looked and said, you're coming back? When should I plan on that? And she said, in 4 years. And sure enough, history will tell us that Cleveland came back and won the White House, and he and Mrs. Cleveland returned after that 4-year hiatus. Well, Israel's preparing to return. Now, there's waves of this return. There'll be 3 significant waves of returning to the land. First will be under Zerubbabel, what we're really looking at today. Then there will be the return of Ezra, and then there'll be the return of Nehemiah. You say, didn't Ezra go with wave number 1? Well, no. Actually, the greatest part of this book of Ezra, even though it bears his name, talks more about those who went before him almost a whole lifetime before, and we're not even going to get to Ezra until chapter 7. And so we come to this list, and you say, well, why all these names? 2 things, and then we're going to slowly start walking through this, okay? Land and the Lord, okay? Obviously, they were meant to inherit the land. That was part of the Abrahamic covenant of God, and so they had to have a legal claim to the land, and part of that was through these the genealogies. And so that's where when we come to genealogies in the Bible, they don't seem to make a whole lot of sense to us. It's kind of like if you were to get an inheritance, genealogy would mean a whole lot to you because it would be a descendant of a descendant and you'd be in that line, and so therefore you would reap the benefits. There were many benefits to being in the line of the family, such as priest serving. And probably the greater of those, more than just the land, would be the Lord. Remember, we're following the Lord, and we're following the seed of David. And it almost comes to a big conclusion here, and we'll talk about that as well. But God allows not only his people, but the line of the Lord to continue. And so now we come to these names, and you say, I don't understand. That most of these names are not recognizable. Well, the British essayer Walter Savage Landor wrote this. He said, when small men cast long shadows, it's a sign that the sun is setting. And you could picture that in your mind. These names are known, only many of them, because of the Bible, God's holy word. And so it reminds us that this was a very dangerous and difficult time for Israel. And with that being said, let's kind of walk through these names. Now, Verse 1, now these are the children of the province that went up out of the captivity of those which had been carried away when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Judah, every one unto his city. So they returned back to where they were from. Now Nehemiah is going to rally them in the next book and get them to finish up Jerusalem. But for a while they went back and they were back into their lands. In fact, one of the prophet will come and will chide them about building their own homes before they finish the house of God. And that's very important. So verse 2, which came from, okay, here we go, came with, and the first name out the chute is Zerubbabel. Okay, we've talked a lot about Zerubbabel, but I did dig up a little bit on him. It's interesting that Zerubbabel is known as the son of Shealtiel, okay? And that's in chapter 3, verse 2. And this would make him one of Jehoiakim's eldest sons, okay? So he's in the line of the Lord. Now, the Hebrew text in 1 Chronicles 3:19 in the Bible makes Zerubbabel the son of Pedaiah. So whose is he, Shealtiel or Pedaiah? What we believe is this probably implies that there was a levirate marriage or a raising up, a kinsman redeemer. And so evidently Shealtiel could not have children, or maybe he died in captivity. And so Pedaiah raised up an heir, and thus the line of Christ continues and is saved by, you say, why do they do this, kinsman redeemer, and marry your brother's wife if he's died, and then you raise up children for them? This is God's way of protecting and providing, yes, even for his son. And so we've got Zerubbabel, we've got Jeshua. He will be the high priest. In Greek, his name means Jesus, which is fascinating. Nehemiah. Now, this is not our Nehemiah from the Bible, okay? Popular name, evidently. Sheariel, Realiah, Mordecai. Now you say, oh, I know that name. Well, don't get too excited. That's not the same Mordecai as in the book of Esther. Bilshan, Mizpar, Bigvai, Reum, Baanah, and the number of the men of the children of Israel. So starts out with leadership. Everything, there's a statement, everything rises and falls on leadership, which in many ways is true, although you've got to have followers. And we do find that Zerubbabel, even though he will not hold the title of king, he's more a governor in the land, is going to go back and take his responsibility of restoring as much of Israel and Jerusalem as he possibly can. Verse 3 says the children of Parosh, 2,172. So now we're getting into a lot of names, and the meanings of these names are interesting because it reminds us that people are coming from varying backgrounds and probably even varying beliefs. Parosh means flee. Maybe at this point, the family of Parosh felt like nothing. God sees us even when we feel so small. Verse 4, the children of Shephatiah. Shephatiah means Yahweh has judged. Somebody evidently that recognized that this 70-year captivity was a judgment of God. And in the family or children of Shealtiel, there were 372. Verse number 5, the children of Ara, 775. Ara means wild ox. And evidently they might have felt like a wild animal grazing on unknown lands. We then go on to verse 6, the children of Pahath Moab, of the children of Jeshua, and Joab, 2,812. Now, Parath Moab means from the pit of Moab, and probably what happens here is the north was taken away, the 10 tribes, and they never really completely came back together. Now, what a lot of folks believe is that they filtered down to what now would be Israel, which would be the southern Israel, or the 2 tribes, which will be known as Judah. And so here is Parath Moab, the children, and they're there and they're seeking to return to the land. The children of Elam, that means hidden, 1,254. Boy, they had to feel like they were forsaken, hidden away, but God knew where they were. Verse number 8, the children of Zatu, 945. We don't know what Zatu means. It's a foreign name. Again, compilation from all the different nations to return to Israel. We know that all Israel has not been regathered gathered. And that will only come when the Lord Jesus returns, and they'll be gathered from the north, the south, the east, and the west. We looked at this in Isaiah chapter number 43 as we were in that on Sunday evening. We then go to the next name, and that is verse 10, the children of Benai, 642. Benai is short for Benaiah, which means Yahweh has built. And so, they were maybe even holding to that promise that God would let them return and would reestablish the land. We then go to verse 11, and it says the children of Bebai, 623. Don't you love these names? That means pupil of the eye. Boy, the center of the eye is Israel. The children of Asgad, 1,222. That means that Gad is strong. That's the tribe of Gad. So again, some of these tribes had come down and were joining together with Judah. The children of Adonikam, my Lord is risen, 666. We know that the resurrection is found in the Old Testament, and we know that Job said, I know that my Redeemer liveth. Well, maybe Adonikam was named because they were looking forward to the resurrection, and maybe the resurrection of the Messiah, but even more than that, the resurrection of Israel, dead and in captivity, brought back to new life in the land. Verse 14, the children of Bigvai, 2,056. Again, that's a foreign name. The children of Aden, 454. Aden is the name for voluptuous. And so kind of you get a little bit of a carnal sense from there that some of the Babylon and the Assyrian and the Persian had kind of influenced these people. Verse 16, the children of Ater. Now, some of you will appreciate this. Those of you that use the left hand, Atar means lefty. And Ater of Hezekiah, 90 and 8. So 98 of them guys would hold to the left hand. Verse 17, the children of Bazai, 323. That's the shortened name for Bezalel, which means the shadow of God. Number 8, verse 18, Jorah, 112. That means autumn rain. We could use some autumn rains here in Indiana right now. The children of Hashem, 223. Hashem means, wouldn't you love to have this family name? Means broad nose, okay? And so there's Mr. Broad Nose. Verse number 20, the children of Gibar, 90 and 5. That's the name for strong man. Now, we stop there, and they begin to now associate, not by name, but by their land. So we looked at lineage. Now, for whatever reason, they're going to change and go from personal names to the designation of their towns. And I think you may recognize some of these towns. Verse 21, the children of Bethlehem, 123. The children of Netophathah, 50 and 6. The children of Anathoth, 120 and 8. I recognize that one. Verse 24, the children of Asmazeth, 40 and 2. The children of Kirhath Jearim, there's a name you should recognize. Chirah and Beeroth, 740 and 3. The children of Ramah, okay, there's one that we recognize. In Gabath, 620 and 1. The children of Michmas, 120 and 2. The children of Bethel, there's a familiar one. And Ai from the book of Joshua, 220 and 3. The children of Nebo, 50 and 2. The children of Magbish, 150 and 6. The children of Elam, 1,250 and 4. The children of Haram, 320. The children of Lod, Hadid, and Onan, 720 and 5. The children of Jericho, 340 and 5. The children of Siena, 3,630. Now, we're going to stop there. We're going to pick up the rest of these names the next time. But you say, Pastor, why waste all of our time on this? Because it's in the Bible, and we believe that every word is inspired by God. And so we've given you a couple of footholds here, but the biggest thing I want you to walk away with is you're important to God. The other day, we picked the kids up at school and started pulling out. We recognized our youngest in school, Luke, wasn't there. Well, we recognized because he's one of ours. We turned back around. We did turn back around, and we picked him on up. Hey, aren't you glad that sometimes you can feel so small, sometimes you can feel so insignificant, but God is aware of you. He loves you, and he's got a plan for you. go and find it today. Hey, God bless you. We'll pick up these fun names next time.